Ever wondered what happens when one person decides to take on a multi-billion-dollar corporation? Well, we're about to find out. This is a story about a single tenant who fought back against his corporate landlord and ended up uncovering a system that seemed completely stacked against him.
You know, every big story has a beginning, a single moment that just kicks everything off. For this story, that moment was a single utility bill.
$790. Just let that sink in. That was the staggering amount on a monthly power bill from a company called Metergy. It was a number so high, it just seemed impossible, and was the trigger for a catastrophic chain of events for a New York City tenant named Kevin Allen.
That's Kevin, in his own words. And as you're about to see, the fallout here wasn't just about the money. This one bill started a process that began to systematically take his life apart, piece by painful piece.
So what happens when a bill that seems totally wrong just shows up one day? Well, for Kevin, this wasn't just some inconvenience. It was the very first domino in a chain reaction that would threaten to unravel his entire life. The speed of the collapse was just breathtaking. Kevin's employer, who was paying for the apartment to be used as a co-working space, saw that insane bill and just shut off the money. All of it. His income immediately dropped by $8,000 a month. He was left stranded on a work trip in Germany, literally unable to check into a hotel. His work began to suffer, his company was pushed towards bankruptcy, and as an Australian on a work visa, his entire life in the United States was suddenly on the verge of disappearing.
This was the question that started to consume him. I mean, the numbers just didn't add up. And in his search for an answer, Kevin Allen had to pivot from being a tenant to being an investigator. He was absolutely determined to get to the bottom of this.
So Kevin put on his detective hat. He started digging because he was convinced that a bill this high couldn't just be a simple mistake. No, something was fundamentally, seriously wrong.
He didn't just complain, he actually built a case. It all started with this crucial tip from an engineer who, get this, actually worked for the landlord, Brookfield. He then found a neighbor who was having the exact same problem, proving he wasn't crazy. From there, he collected a mountain of evidence. We're talking over 15,000 items, all leading to one pretty shocking conclusion.
This was the wild theory that his inside source proposed. It sounds almost unbelievable, right? How could one apartment be powering the elevators for a whole high-rise? But there was one critical fact that made it all seem chillingly plausible. And there you have it. His apartment was literally right next door to the elevator machine room. That physical proximity was the first huge clue. But as Kevin dug deeper, he realized the problem wasn't just about some faulty wiring. It was about a corporate structure that seemed designed to leave tenants completely powerless.
You see, this wasn't just some technical glitch. The real root of the problem Kevin was discovering was woven into the very DNA of the companies he was dealing with.
And here is the bombshell. His landlord, Brookfield Properties, the company he was complaining to, and the utility company sending the bills, Metergy, are basically the same company. Brookfield owns Metergy. This is a massive, massive conflict of interest. The landlord profits directly from the very same utility charges they're supposed to be investigating.
And that conflict of interest, well, it was just the beginning. Kevin's investigation uncovered a whole pattern. There were widespread allegations of overcharging by Metergy, building management kept trying to deflect blame by calling Metergy a separate third party, and he realized he'd never even signed the lease that had the latest rent hikes. He even found potential evidence that Brookfield might be violating the terms of a huge tax break they were getting.
Before we get into the legal battle, it's really important that we understand the profound human cost of all this. This was so much more than a financial dispute. It was a crisis that tore a family apart.
Just look at this timeline. Within 1 month of this all escalating, his financial support was completely gone. By month 3, the incredible stress had fractured his family. His wife left for Dubai with their young daughter. By month 6, he was on the brink of losing his job and being forced to leave the country. The damage just went so far beyond money. Kevin had to seek help from multiple psychiatrists and even started taking antidepressants for the first time in his life. Then, as retaliation for his efforts to organize other tenants, the building management revoked his access to common areas. In a move he described as just low, they even barred his 3-year-old daughter from using the children's playroom. So with his back against the wall and absolutely everything on the line, Kevin had only one option left: to fight back. He took his massive pile of evidence and launched a legal counteroffensive. His countersuit is built on these 4 really powerful pillars. First, a breach of habitability.
saying that faulty AC units made the apartment unsafe and drove up power costs. Second, that undeniable conflict of interest. Third, rent overcharges that were based on a lease he never even signed. And finally, clear retaliatory actions by management.
And Kevin's fight isn't just about his own apartment anymore. His building, the Eugene, has 844 units. His investigation has uncovered what could be a building-wide issue, and that opens the door for a massive class action lawsuit.
And the stakes here are just huge. This is the high-end estimate for what it would cost Brookfield to fix the air conditioning in the entire building. It shows you the scale of the potential negligence and maybe the millions of reasons they had to just ignore the problem.
So what does this all represent? Well, it's about more than just one tenant. It's about the power of a single determined person to expose systemic problems and challenge a corporate giant, inspiring others to start questioning their own situations.
And that brings us to the real question at the heart of this story. In a rental market that's more and more dominated by these massive corporations, what protections do tenants really have? And what does it take for one person's voice to finally be heard and for their rights to be defended?